This video is on basic probability. So again, we're talking about the frequentist view, which is this long-term probability based on our observations. So for an event, which is what we're interested in, the occurrence that we're interested in, the probability of an event is the number that lies between 0 and 1. So 0 would be no probability or no chance of that being that event, and 1 would be that that is 100%, that's what is going to occur. And so the bigger the value of that probability of A, it's the more likely that it is to occur. So if we think about an example with a coin flip, let's say that we have a trick coin and they're both heads on both sides. If I were to randomly flip that coin, if it's heads on both sides, my probability of getting a tails would be 0. There's no likelihood of that because that's not one of the events that's possible to happen in that case. Whereas the likelihood of getting a heads is 1, or 100%, because that's the only option. That's what is going to occur. So we're going to call each of these outcomes an elementary event. So getting heads would be an elementary event in that case. And so what we're going to do is we're going to use the formula of the probability of A equals the number of all the outcomes that satisfy our criteria for A. So whatever A is, if A is heads, then that means that I have two outcomes possible when I flip that coin. And so then I would have 2 as my numerator on the top of the equation. And then the total number of possible outcomes is going to be the total number of possible options. When we flip a coin, there's 2 possible options. In this case, they end up being heads for both of them. And so that would be you're dividing 2 divided by 2, and you get 1, which again is 100%. So all events added together, all possible events added together should make up all the possibilities, which would be 100% or 1. So here's an example with a 6-sided die. So we have a 6-sided die, and each number only appears on one side of that die. So we have 1 through 6 here, right? So 1 through 6 is right here. So if I look at all of these, this has to be 100% of my options. I don't have any other option. If I roll the die, it's gonna be one of these options. So that's gonna be 100% probability that one of those things is going to occur, right? So we have different outcome labels. So I just put 1 as being A, 2 as being B, 3 as being C. You could even write it as the probability of 3. But you just want to think about what we're saying. We're labeling that probability. So this probability as a fraction is just the formula for it. So we're saying however many times A can occur out of our 6 sides is 1, right? And then we're dividing that by our total possible sides, which is 6. And so then that probability of A, if I divide 1 by 6, I'm going to get 0.1666666, or if you round up, it's going to be 0.17. And so if you add together all of these, decimals here, the sum is going to be 1. So if you added all the 0.1666666 and added together, that's going to be 1. Because again, it's a 100% chance that when you roll a 6-sided die, you're going to get a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, or a 6. One of those things has to happen. And so that is that denominator in that question. So here's a practice question. In a psychology study, 60 participants are introverts and 40 are extroverts. What's the probability of randomly selecting an introvert? So our A that we're looking at, our event that we're interested in, is if somebody is an introvert. And so our probability of selecting an introvert randomly, we need to look at the total number of possible outcomes that satisfy our criteria, which is introverts. So we have 60 people that satisfy that criteria, and then 40 are extroverts. And so our total number of possible outcomes is actually 100, because there's 100 people, and we're going to randomly select from that 100 people, and we're looking for, again, the introverts. So the probability of A is going to be A over possible, which is just introverts over the total in this case. And so we can substitute in numbers for that. There's 60 introverts. So I'm just taking this information here, 60 participants are introverts. And then I'm adding the 60 and the 40 to get my total possible outcomes, which is 100. So if I divide that, 60 divided by 100 is 0.60. And we're going to continue to use the two numbers after the decimal in class. And then you should go ahead and complete the practice problems for this, and then reach out if you have any questions.